Max Verstappen came to Monaco looking like he might have pulled off one of the biggest surprises of the season. Red Bull arrived at a circuit that, on paper, should not have suited the RB21. Monaco is all about low-speed grip, mechanical balance and driver confidence over the bumps and curbs. Those are exactly the areas where Red Bull has struggled at various points this season. And yet, somehow, Verstappen was right in the fight. He outqualified both Ferraris, looked genuinely competitive throughout the weekend, and came within touching distance of pole position before Mercedes rookie Kimi Antonelli delivered a stunning lap to take the top spot. Everything was lining up for a fascinating Monaco Grand Prix. Then, before turn 1, it was over. What makes this story so interesting is how quickly a potentially race-winning weekend turned into one of Red Bull's most frustrating retirements of the season. As the lights went out, Verstappen's Red Bull simply failed to launch properly. Instead of accelerating cleanly away from the grid, the car stalled, forcing Verstappen to immediately take evasive action to avoid being collected by the pack charging toward the first corner. For a few seconds, chaos seemed inevitable. Monaco offers virtually no room for error, and a stationary Formula One car at the start is about as dangerous a scenario as teams can imagine. Fortunately, Verstappen managed to get moving again, but the damage was already done. The Dutchman limped through the opening sector before returning to the pits and retiring the car on the very first lap. His race had lasted less than a lap, and judging by the radio messages, frustration arrived almost instantly. Verstappen's reaction was immediate and emotional as he realized his afternoon had effectively ended before it had even begun. But the real question is, what actually went wrong? According to Verstappen himself, the signs were already there long before the race start. Speaking after the Grand Prix, the four-time world champion reveals that the problems began during the formation lap. That detail matters because it suggests this wasn't simply a poor launch procedure or a clutch issue at the start. Instead, the team was already dealing with a deeper mechanical problem before the race officially began. Verstappen explained that the formation lap felt inconsistent and that the car's behavior during the pre-start procedures was equally concerning. Then came the critical moment. As Verstappen described it, the engine simply dropped dead. That is an unusually blunt assessment from a driver who is generally very precise when discussing technical issues. The wording suggests a sudden and complete loss of power rather than a gradual degradation. What makes that particularly significant is what happened next. Verstappen reported that he briefly regained a small amount of power after the first corner, but the engine sounded abnormal and refused to deliver full performance. In Formula One, modern power units are incredibly complex systems, involving internal combustion components, turbochargers, hybrid elements, energy recovery systems, electronic controls, and sophisticated software management. When a driver reports inconsistent power delivery combined with unusual engine noises, it typically points toward a serious failure somewhere within that integrated package. Whether the root cause was electronic, mechanical, or hybrid system related remains unclear. But from Verstappen's description, Red Bull quickly recognized that continuing was pointless. There was no realistic chance of recovery. The safest option was simply to bring the car back to the garage. And that is exactly what happened. For Red Bull, the timing could hardly have been worse. Because beneath the retirement lies a much bigger story. The team had actually shown encouraging signs throughout the Monaco weekend. Coming into the event, many expected McLaren, Mercedes and Ferrari to have a clear advantage. Instead, Verstappen was consistently near the front. The upgrades Red Bull has introduced over recent races appeared to be delivering at least some positive results. The car looked more predictable, the balance seemed improved, and Verstappen was able to extract performance in conditions that previously exposed some of the RB21's weaknesses. That matters because Red Bull's biggest objective right now is not simply winning individual races. It's understanding whether its recent development direction is genuinely solving the car's underlying problems. Monaco, however, creates a unique challenge when evaluating performance. The circuit is unlike almost any other track on the calendar. Low-speed corners dominate the lap. Aerodynamic efficiency becomes less important than mechanical compliance. Ride quality matters enormously, and driver confidence can often outweigh pure car performance. In other words, Monaco can sometimes disguise weaknesses or exaggerate strengths. That is why Verstappen's comments about the next race are perhaps even more revealing than his explanation of the retirement itself. Looking ahead to Barcelona, he made it clear that Spain will provide a much more meaningful test of Red Bull's progress. What makes Barcelona so important is its layout. Unlike Monaco, the Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya contains a wide variety of corner types, particularly long, high-speed sections that place enormous demands on aerodynamic performance. This is where elite Formula One cars separate themselves from the competition. High-speed stability, consistent downforce generation, efficient aerodynamic balance. These are the characteristics that determine whether an upgrade package is genuinely working. Verstappen essentially acknowledged that Monaco alone cannot provide those answers. Barcelona can. And that is why the Spanish Grand Prix may become one of Red Bull's most important weekends of the season. If the team performs strongly there, it would suggest the recent upgrades are delivering real gains. If not, questions will immediately return regarding the long-term competitiveness of the RB21. The bigger implication here is that Verstappen's retirement may end up being remembered as a frustrating footnote rather than the main story. Because, despite the DNF, Monaco still offered evidence that Red Bull could be moving in the right direction. The challenge now is proving it under more representative conditions. And that brings us to the key question heading into Spain. Was Monaco the first sign that Red Bull has finally unlocked meaningful performance from its development package? Or was it simply a circuit-specific result that flattered the car more than expected? Barcelona should provide the answer, and if Verstappen is competitive there, the rest of the grid may suddenly discover that Red Bull's recovery is much further advanced than they thought. But if the pace disappears, Monaco could be remembered as a false dawn. So, what do you think? Was Verstappen's Monaco retirement simply bad luck during an otherwise promising weekend for Red Bull? Or will Barcelona reveal that the team's apparent progress isn't quite as significant as it looked? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.